What's up, tennis fans? Sleepy Picks here. We had another draw released for the Marrakech Open. Here is our draw reaction and picks. Let's take a look at the draw. Here's a look at Darderi's half of the draw. This is the top half of the draw. First matchup, we have Bellucci taking on Bennani. And I got to say their first name because there is another Bennani right below him taking on Quinton Halys. Now, Bellucci obviously no head-to-head here, guys. Bennani, 561 in the world. He's 19 years old. He is a Moroccan player. He will have the crowd behind him, and so will the next match as well. I love seeing these home crowd favorites kind of coming in here. Bennani, obviously a well-known Moroccan player for that's been around for a little bit. He's been trying on the pro level. 2-3 this year on the clay, 2-5 overall, 33-13 last year on the clay, so not too bad. But he's playing M25s and M15s, so he's not even playing on that challenger level yet. But 33-13, a pretty good showing on the clay for him. So you can tell he's comfortable on the surface, and it's going to make a difference, I think, for sure, coming out here and having the crowd with you. Bellucci, on the other hand, has not played a match on clay. He was 3-7 last year in 2025 and 5-2 in 2024. So a little bit of unfamiliarity there compared to the 33-13. But obviously, Bellucci in a much higher class than Bennani. Bellucci coming off a first-round disappointing loss to Mickelson. Now, we talked about Bellucci making it to the finals of the Cap Cana Challenger, losing to Navoni in straight sets. Up until then, he hadn't dropped a set in that Challenger tournament, but then loses in straights and is able to come out of qualifying. I was kind of questioning maybe the fatigue of Bellucci here, going right from the Challenger, which wrapped up around the 15th of March, to the first round of qualifying the 16th of March, and he was able to take care of business, but maybe ran out of energy a little bit. He didn't look bad against Mickelson. I feel like that score 6-2, 6-1 is a little bit deceiving, and Mickelson just a little bit better. He's playing with a lot of confidence, so he's able to get through in straight sets. I think this is going to be a straight set win for Bellucci. I feel like one set might be a little bit tricky just because Bennani's going to have a little bit of momentum, but it's always tough to see some of these guys, especially outside the top 500, punching up to these top 100 guys. I don't think Bennani's going to really provide much challenge. Maybe we get like a 6-4 set, maybe in the second set once Bennani gets his footing down and everything, but I think the first set's going to be Bellucci kind of coming out and really rushing Bennani. And I'm going to go Bellucci to win. I think it's going to be straight sets. It should be pretty convincing. Our next matchup is Bennani taking on Quinton Halys. And obviously, we know Halys from being on tour. Bennani is an 18-year-old Moroccan player. Again, similar to the previous Bennani. He's going to have the crowd on his side here playing. Is that going to make much of a difference? I don't think so. He is ranked 755 in the world, so obviously has been struggling here on the tour. Bennani is 73 overall. He's been playing M15s, one M25, 3-2 on the clay, so not too bad. This would be Halys's first match on the clay, and honestly, I kind of like these guys, not that they got lucky like Bellucci and Halys, but like these are matches that they're going to win pretty convincingly, and they're also going to be able to get their feet wet on the clay. They can try some things. They can start to reinvigorate maybe some success that they used to have on the clay. Now, looking at Quinton Halys, 2025 he was 4-6 on the clay. 2024 he's 14-10 on the clay. So potentially not the best. And honestly, I kind of like that for Jong and Hanfmann on the bottom, being able to take out Halys. But we'll get to that when we do. I think this is going to be Halys in straight sets. There's not really much more to talk about. Halys coming off a fourth-round loss, 7-6, 7-6 to Alexander Zverev. And if you guys remember, he did such a great job of saving a lot of those break points that Zverev had. I think Zverev was 0-for-6 on break points, and that was just really impressive. And all those points, none of them were really Zverev making a bad shot or an unforced error. They were all just Zverev, or they were all Halys just forcing the issue against Zverev and playing some smart tennis. Halys also being able to take out Liam Draxel, Fokina, and Majchrzak before that in Miami. So he's playing pretty well. He's got some confidence here. I'd like him to get through here in straight sets over Bennani. I'm going to say it's not really going to be that close. Probably like a 2-2. Next matchup, we have Jong taking on Hanfmann. And it's kind of funny, all of these matches are all head-to-head that no one's met before. So we're seeing a lot of these guys for the first time play each other, and we'll be able to kind of get back and keep notes on those matches and see how they do in the future. Looking at Hanfmann, he's sitting at 5-2 on the clay, 10-6 overall. Hanfmann coming off a tough 3-set loss to Hadar in Miami after getting through qualifying, beating Reedy and Assche. Hanfmann also had a pretty nice run in the Chile Open, making it to the finals, losing in a tough straight setter to Darderi, 7-6, 7-5. But he was able to beat Cerundolo, Galvis, who we had just talked about in the previous video, Carabelli, and Lajovic to get to the final. So pretty nice look there for Hanfmann. I think he's going to rediscover his confidence here on the clay. De Jong, on the other hand, was also 4-2 on the clay, 0-5 on the outdoor hardcourt surface. And he is coming off a loss in the Alicante Challenger. He lost to Boot Vilas 7-5, 2-6, 6-4. So both these guys have played on clay. Their records are pretty similar. Looking at their 2025 records, De Jong was 20-13. Hanfmann was 17-12. I really like Hanfmann here, even though I feel like the numbers are kind of pulling me towards De Jong. Obviously, Hanfmann's the seed. That doesn't really mean much to me here as we start to move on the clay. A lot of these guys are getting seeded for what they've done on the hard courts. I'm going to go with Hanfmann to win. I think it's going to be a tough 3-setter here. Wouldn't surprise me if De Jong won, but give me Hanfmann in 3. Next match, we have Alexander Vukic taking on Taha Baadi, and not really much I'm going to say here about this one. Baadi 593 in the world, Vukic 93 in the world. Big difference there. They actually do have a head-to-head, so they did play once. Vukic winning 7-5, 6-2 on the indoor hardcourt surfaces. This looks like it was in 2018, so this was a long time ago here. Vukic hasn't played on the clay. He's 0-0, and he was 4-8 last year, 5-9 the year before. Baadi, on the other hand, is 2-3 this year on the clay, was 8-11 last year, and 1-3 the year before. I kind of feel like this is going to be a good match for Vukic to kind of get his feet wet a little bit, and he's going to play Mute. And Mute obviously going to be a much tougher customer, but it's always good to get a first-round match and to win and get out to the round of 16. At least gain a little bit of confidence as you're starting to move into the clay season, especially when you're Vukic and you really haven't done well in the last few years on the clay. So I'm going to go with Vukic. I think he's going to win in straight sets. I think he's going to look pretty good, but I'm probably going to take Mute to beat him in the next round. But give me Vukic in straights. And the final match on the board is Majchrzak taking on Juan Manuel Cerundolo. And guys, when the draw came out and I saw this, I was like, what? How is this a first round match when we got Bellucci playing Bennani, Halys playing Bennani, Vukic playing Baadi, 2 qualifiers playing, Darderi and Mute getting buys, Hanfmann De Jong, okay, that's a competitive match. But then we have Cerundolo and Majchrzak. What a tough draw for Majchrzak. And what a tough draw for Cerundolo. So if we remember, Cerundolo had to withdraw from Indian Wells in his match against Rinderknecht with a left leg injury. Now, we do know Cerundolo, left-handed player. We got to see how that leg is doing here, especially he relies on his movement. He gets a lot of balls back. So he played that tough Indian Wells match against Bodik van de Zandschulp, able to survive 7-6, 6-7, 6-3, but then pulls out the next tournament or the next match and doesn't play Miami. Hasn't played since then. That was back in March 7th. So it's been about 20 days for recovery here. Probably wasn't too serious, but we definitely want to keep an eye on him when he sets foot on the clay. Majchrzak, on the other hand, coming off a loss to Quinton Halys 7-6-6-1 in Miami, but he was able to beat Lunarkian and Kekmanovic before bowing out to Halys in the third round. So we got to give Majchrzak some credit here. That's a pretty solid tournament, beating those two guys. He's sitting at 7-8 on the outdoor hard court surface. Hasn't played a match on clay. Cerundolo is 6-4 on the clay here. And we remember he did have a decent run in Rio, getting to the quarterfinals, losing to Kopriva, but beating Darderi and Hanfmann on the way there. He lost to Martinez in the second round of Buenos Aires and lost to Garin in 3 sets. So this is such a tough draw for both of these guys, and it sucks that one of them is not going to be around in the round of 16, because honestly, you look at, I mean, what do we have? 14 players here. Juan Manuel Cerundolo can beat probably 8 of these 14. Majchrzak can be probably 8 of these 14 guys. So that just tells me, that what a tough matchup here. But you know what? It makes for a good match. I can't wait to watch this. I got my timer set so I can watch this match. They do not have a head-to-head against each other. Have never played. Looking at their previous records on the clay from 2025 and 2024, Cerundolo was 39-19 in 2025, 46-25 in 2024. Majchrzak was 12-7 in 2025, 34-8 in 2024. He's got some success on the clay, so we can't really count him out. I do think that Cerundolo, having played that South American swing on the clay, is going to give him a little bit of a step up here. And I think it's so important for him to get that first set. If he can do that, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Majchrzak to win this match, and to come back and have to win it in 3 sets makes it all that much more difficult. I'm going to take Cerundolo. I feel like that's crazy. I feel like that's crazy given the potential injury, but I love this guy on the clay. I know his game isn't the prettiest, but he's gonna make Majchrzak play a ton of long points, and we saw this against Halys. Halys being able to kind of take some of the pace away from his shots and force Majchrzak to come up with the pace himself. Majchrzak likes to stand on the baseline and just redirect, use the opponent's pace against him. He did that against Tian. He did that against the big hitting Kekmanovic on the hard court. The clay is going to be a little bit different. So honestly, I kind of want to see Majchrzak prove me wrong here, but I'm picking Cerundolo to pull that upset off. I'm going to pick him in 3 sets. And here's a look at Darderi's half of the draw. And you guys know I'm a big Darderi fan. I like him on the clay. I think he's an absolute tank. I think he can go for hours. I think he's much tougher there. I did think that he kind of came out with his clay game at Indian Wells, which kind of made him struggle a little bit. But now he's going to get back on a surface that he was extremely comfortable on, and he was able to have a nice run at the Chile Open. So I think I give him definitely the best odds to make it out of this path of the draw. I don't really see anybody really challenging him. Maybe if Majchrzak's able to get through Cerundolo and get out to the semis, maybe he provides a little bit of resistance here. But for me, this is Darderi's have to lose. Obviously, he's the 1 seed, but even so, sometimes we have these successful hardcore players that are higher seeded. But for me, Darderi's a good clay quarter. He's going to have a lot of success here. I'm going to take him to make it all the way through to the finals. And here's a look at Griekspoor's half of the draw. The first match we have is Kopriva taking on Medjedovic. And very important to note that Medjedovic is still playing in the Naples Challenger. He's in the finals tomorrow. Was able to take out Sachko of Ukraine 7-5-6-1. 4-0 on the clay. This provides a few good things and a few bad things. Number one good thing, He's got 4 matches under his belt on the clay. He hadn't played a clay tournament before. So now going into this 250, which obviously is where he wants to start to make some of his points, he's going to have some familiarity with the surface. The bad thing is, what if he plays a very tough final? He's going to have to turn that around, travel from Naples, Italy, to Marrakech, Morocco, and then have to play either Monday or Tuesday. So you're talking about playing a final here on Sunday and then coming back and having to play again on Monday or Tuesday. That might be a tall task, especially when you have to play Vic Kopriva, who has been a very solid clay quarter and had some decent results this year. Kopriva losing to Forti of Italy in straight sets in the Naples Challenger as well. Not a great result there, a little bit disappointing, but again, maybe a good match for him to kind of get a little bit comfortable with the clay and kind of turn the game around into the clay game. Because remember, he did go out and play Indian Wells, coming out as a lucky loser, beating Michael Jang. And we talk about Michael Jang. He won. He beat Korda in the first round of the Australian Open. Extremely tough, tricky match. Beat him in 5 sets. Michael Jang playing really well. College player, played at Columbia. And then Kopriva goes on and gives Bublik everything he can handle. Tough 3-setter in the second round. Bublik able to win 6-2 in the third, but not without Kopriva really providing a lot of resistance there. So I think he's got a little bit of confidence. I think it was smart to play the challenger because I think you don't want your first match to be in the 250 where you could potentially slip up, especially against a guy like Medjedovic. He got a tough draw. This is a tough draw for Kopriva. And, we talked about, Cerundolo also, who was a dangerous floater. Berretini, who's floating around here as well. Carabelli. So there's a lot of guys. Hadar. So there's a lot of guys here that could potentially provide some resistance. And Kopriva wanted to be ready. So he was able to get a match under his belt. Didn't go the way he wanted, but got a match nonetheless. Let's also remember that Kopriva was able to make it to the semifinals of the Rio Open, losing to Echeverry in 3 sets, and then retiring in his match in the Chile Open. Just didn't have the legs and the ability to play there. But keep in mind that Rio Open, and when we talked about that one, that was all the delays with the rain, moved to the next day. They had to play, I think, back-to-back matches, quarterfinals and semis. So a really tough scenario for these guys, and it kind of just wore down the Kopriva body. But he's able to bounce back and get that nice showing at Indian Wells. Medjedovic, this is a guy. He's 10-5 right now overall in the year. Pretty solid. Played in the indoor hard courts, lost to Felix 6-4, 6-4, but was able to beat Basilashvili and Zizou Bergs to get out to that second round match. We do remember him. He challenged Alex de Minaur a little bit in the Australian Open second round, winning the first set in a breaker and then losing a little bit more convincingly. But Medjedovic has it. I think he's just a little bit young. 22 years old. I think he's got to kind of put it all together. Looking at these guys head-to-head, they did play in the Zadar Challenger in 2023. Medjedovic able to get the better of Kopriva, 6-4, 6-2. This is a tough match for me to pick before seeing what the final of Naples is going to look like. If it's a tough, drawn-out match, then I kind of have some questions. But if Medjedovic is able to win in straights, he's going to have all the momentum coming into this match. And that's a tough match for Kopriva. I kind of like Medjedovic in this match. I think this is going to be a really tough. This is going to be a tough step-up match. You got a guy. Medjedovic able to play some challengers, beat Barton, Sekalaridis, Muller, Sachko. Now you got to play Vic Kopriva. You got to play the number 60 guy in the world. So this is going to be a tough step-up match. I think he's going to be able to do it. I'm going to bank on Medjedovic winning the finals of the Naples Challenger and then carrying that momentum in to beat Vic Kopriva and get the upset here. Give me Medjedovic in 3 sets. Next match, we have Federico Cina taking on Alexander Muller. And, it's so fun to talk to you guys about some of these challengers. Like, Federico Cina is another guy that I've seen in challengers, that I've seen his name. I've put on like a few of his matches to kind of watch how he plays. He's got a pretty big game. I watched his match against Sakamoto in the New Delhi Challenger. That was a tough 3-setter. Cina being able to win the first set in a breaker, but then losing the next two pretty convincingly. Sakamoto's a really tough player, but I would put Federico in like that top tier of challenger level players. We talk about like I feel like we keep building this tier up here because we have like Alexander Blocks, Van Asch, Sakamoto, Collignon. Hadar's been getting his wild cards, but he still plays some challengers. He's pretty solid. So some of those guys, I think we put them. I put him up in maybe a little bit of the lower high tier, but I still think he's got that level to compete with these guys. He's sitting on 11-5 on the year, 9-4 on the hard court. He's more of a hard court type of guy. 2-1 on the clay, so not too bad on that surface. Alexander Muller, on the other hand, is 2-1 right now on the clay, able to get 2 wins in the Naples Challenger and then losing 6-2, 6-2 to Medjedovic, who we had just talked about. Maybe we get a Muller Medjedovic rematch there. And guys, we always talk about the revenge factor. If that happens, you gotta pick Muller. Like it just always happens. Like where it's a straight set win, a 6-2, 6-2 convincing win on the clay the week before for Medjedovic, and now he comes out and plays Muller again, and Muller's angry, he's motivated, and he's gonna win that match in straights. You just watch. No head-to-head here for these guys. I think this is going to be a really tough match for Muller. I like Cina. I like seeing these guys start to kind of break into the 250 level. I really hope that we get to see, Luce, another guy, that we get to see them make a run and start to make a name for themselves. Now everybody knows Martin Landaluce. But Cina's a guy that I feel like he can kind of make a little bit of a push here. But I'm going to go with Muller. I'm going to say he's going to win in 3 sets. And I think Cina's going to have some chances to maybe win this match in maybe straights. But give me Muller in 3. And you guys thought I was mad about the Cerundolo Majchrzak first round. This, it's so funny, going down these draws. And you're looking and you see like Majchrzak Cerundolo. I'm like, what the heck? And this one, I was even like, no, what? This can't be. This is going to be a rematch of a quarterfinal match in Rio, in ATP 500. This is a rematch of a 500 quarterfinal. It's happening in a first round of a 250. It just frustrates me because I know Berretini's winning this match, guys. Like, I just know it. He's playing better. He's playing better now. And he wants that revenge. So we always talk about that revenge factor. Buse able to beat him in the Rio Open 6-2, 2-6. Sorry, 6-3, 2-6, 6-3. And Berrettini's been thinking about this. And of course they put these two together. And Buse is seeded too. That's what kills me the most. Buse is able to get a seed here. You think maybe he's going to be able to get a favorable draw and get out to the quarters or even push the semis. But of course he gets Berrettini in the first round. So as you can tell, I'm not too happy about this because I really do. I want Buse to win. I really do. But I know I know in my heart that Berretini's going to win. Head-to-head is 1-0 for Buse. Like we just talked about. Buse is 4-3 on the clay. As we talked about, he did make a nice run in Rio, getting out to the semifinals, losing to Tabilo. But on the way there, he beat Marcondes, Fonseca, Berretini. He then lost in the first round of the Chile Open and had a nice win over Coleman Wong in Miami, able to get out and losing a tough one to Jumer in 3 sets. Buse sitting at 4-3 on the clay courts, 42-19 in 2025, 44-24 in 2024. He loves the clay. Berretini, we know, isn't too great on the clay, but his record isn't that bad. He's 105-47 overall on the clay. That's pretty impressive. Berretini right now is 3-3 on the clay, 4-3 last year on the clay, 15-1 in 2024, 2-0 in 2023. Berretini coming off a nice run in the Miami Open, beating Muller, beating Bublik, and losing in straights to Vatro. A tough match in the first set of that third round match. Berretini was also able to get out to the second round of Buenos Aires, losing to Kopriva in straights. Lost in the quarters to Buse. Lost in the first round to Nava. This is I hate to do it. This is Berretini here. He's gonna get his revenge. You know he's been thinking about it. He is a very high level player. He has that level. I think he's gonna come in with a little bit of confidence. Obviously, yes, it's his first clay court match in about a month since the 24th of February, so literally a month exactly. Buse is gonna love. He loves the clay. He's gonna play really well. He's gonna try to grind Berretini down. I feel like that Berretini forehand is gonna connect with some shots. I don't think he makes the mistakes he did last time. You know, obviously when you're Berretini and you play a guy like Buse, who's still a teenager, who's 22 years old, but fairly new on the tour, not very familiar with his game, you end up maybe struggling against it. Now he knows exactly how he plays on the clay. He knows a lot about his patterns, and a guy as high class as Berretini is going to come up with a game plan to beat this guy. I'm going to go with Berretini. I think it's going to be Berretini in straight sets. I'm so disappointed that I'm picking this because I want Buse to win. If he wins, I'll be ecstatic. But give me Berretini in straights. Next match, we have Luca Van Assche taking on Hugo Gaston. No head-to-head here, guys, but this is a very interesting matchup. 2 Frenchmen here playing each other. We have Van Assche, who's been dominating the challenger level here. He's 21 years old. He did reach a career high of 63, floating around 106 right now. And who's 107? Hugo Gaston. He reached a career high of 58. He's 25. You know, this is such an important match for both of these guys in their careers, where I am waiting for Luca Van Assche. I think he is part of this like next gen guys with the Landalusis, the Collignones, Alexander Blocks. I think he's part of that group. But I'm waiting for him to kind of have this breakthrough moment. Maybe it's going to be here. Doesn't really like the clay too much. Both Gaston and Van Assche have not played a match on clay this year. Huge advantage for both. You know, like this is such an interesting match. I put so much weight on this. I think either way, whoever comes out of here is going to lose to Griekspoor in the next round. But I think getting an ATP 250 win for Van Assche would be huge. Van Assche coming off a 3-set loss to Hanfmann in the qualifiers of Miami. He beat Wilworth in straights pretty easily. He did play in the Cap Cana Challenger where he was able to get out of qualifying, beating Sakamoto in the final round of qualifying and then beating School Kate in the first round, losing to Collignon in straight sets. Hugo Gaston, on the other hand, played the Thionville Challenger, beating Glinka in the first round, beating Smith in the second round, beating Mose Kwame in the third round in tough three-setter, and then losing to Sebastian Offner in straights. Hugo Gaston sitting at 9-7 overall this year. Van Assche sitting at 18-6 overall this year. Looking at their clay court records, Van Assche was 15-12 in 2025, 8-10 in 2024. Gaston was 6-14 in 2025, 15-11 in 2024. So not great from these guys over the past few years. You know, I think it's pretty clear that this is not their favorite surface. I'm kind of biased because I really do favor these the challenger level players. I really like them. I think I like kind of following them. So I'm gonna go with Van Assche to win this one. I think he's gonna be three-setter no matter what. But give me Van Assche in 3 sets. And here's a look at Griekspoor's half of the draw. I think it's funny that I picked both of the seeds to lose here, but I always think the clay courts get a little bit wacky sometimes. You know, with the seeding. Sometimes the seedings are based on like how some of these players did in the early months on the hard court. So sometimes the clay court really isn't factored in until a few weeks or even a month down the road. Then we start to see some of these higher seeds getting like better rankings so that they can get some buys because they're better clay court players. But right now, some of them might be dangerous floaters in here, and I think we do have some of those in that case. I expect Griekspoor to get out of this semi here. I expect him to make it to the finals. I don't trust Majchrzak. I would love Medjedovic to make it out there. I think that would be a great story for him to get out to the semis. He is playing good clay court tennis, in the finals of Naples. We'll see how that goes tomorrow. And then, of course, we have Hadar floating around there. Not sure if he's going to really like the clay. Obviously, trained in Spain, has some experience on the clay. We'll see how he plays here. I feel like his game is more suited for the hard courts. I do like the fact that Hadar is going to come out and have to play like 2 months, 2.5 months on the clay. And I think that's really going to help him develop his game, especially his I would say his like strategy, his ability to build up points. Because right now I feel like a lot of it sometimes he's just hitting so big up the middle of the court, or like rather than moving the opponent opening the court up and then hitting his big shot. Berretini, I would love to see him make kind of like a run here, maybe get back into the, top 50-ish, top 32-ish to potentially get a seed in at the French. I think that would be great. And then Van Assche, obviously, we talked about with the challenger story here. I would love to see a guy like that who's been succeeding a lot on the challengers. I would love to see a guy like that maybe make a deep run in a tournament like this. But let me know what you guys think. Share your picks in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We have another video out for the Tirac Open, another video out for the Houston Open. Both of those are draw reactions and first round picks. And then we also have a finals video out for the Sinner and Lehechka final tomorrow at the Miami Open. A lot of tennis going on. What an exciting time, guys. So excited for this clay season to get underway. Can't wait to see kind of where we go here with some of these tournaments. I think we're going to see a lot of upsets, and I think we're going to see a lot of good matches. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.